get into these top 10 storylines.
Hey, we have
guys.
8 minutes to get into the top 10 stories.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Nick, eat me out, Eatman. Toss me one, son. Let's get into it.
All right. Nick Eatman with his big picture, 10 storylines for Cowboys and Texans.
I'm going to reach out to the guy that wrote 11 coaches and tell him next time, maybe keep it to 5.
Oh, no.
Well, you know what?
He's got a word count he's got to get in.
Crack him if you got him.
Crack me if you got him.
Get it.
Ideally,
It's
11.
It's a possum over here.
11 is more of a specific number.
What about,
So it's almost
what
like,
about
whoa.
7?
7.
Okay, so we got the big picture, 10 storylines for Cowboys, Texans. Nick, eat me out, Eatman, always holding it down, still doing his damn thing. Even though the Cowboys are 3-6, he's still putting out this great content that we like to piggyback off of. So, Nick, we want to give you a shout out, man. Can't wait to meet you in person.
Okay, the first time the Cowboys are returning to Monday Night Football, and they've lost 4 straight home games. The Texans have lost 3 of 4, I guess their last games. Or sorry, Cowboys have lost 4 straight games, I should say. Texans have lost 3 or 4. So we got a 1-7 football team combination record here coming in.
Battle of Texas.
Here are the story lines for Texans.
The Texans, sitting at 6-4, have played 10 games this year, and one thing seems rather consistent. The games are going to be close. 8 of the games so far have been decided by one score, including 5 by 3 points or less. We talked about this earlier. One of those was last Sunday's nail-biting loss to the Lions. Houston blew a 23-7 halftime lead and lost to the Detroit Lions on a last-second field goal, losing its third game in 4 weeks after starting the season 5-1.
That's crazy.
Freaking who.
Starting off 5-1, looking like a powerhouse, and then to kind of get on a little bit of a downturn. Okay.
Momentum's a real.
Momentum's a bitch, and it's like, imagine the Cowboys come and dunk on you, man. Imagine the Cowboys come and dunk on you.
Well, as you were mentioning, things are going to get really interesting the last little bit of the season, but I think we actually probably have our 2 softest games coming up here with Houston and then, Houston Giants, and then is it Panthers?
No, we have Commanders. We have Houston Commanders, Giants.
Sorry, Houston Commanders, Giants. When do we play Panthers after that?
After that.
Okay, so this is probably the softest part, removing Washington from that.
Well, do you think Houston's soft, though?
Only because of their recent
There's
losing.
a little downturn, but maybe this is the time for them to rebound.
Could be, but we looked at their last 4 games, and I think their highest points, they basically were scoring average of like...
They're having issues.
23, 24 points. So it's just, do I think the Cowboys will win? Well, you're going to have to wait and find out when we do our bold predictions. However, I think that this is one that if the Cowboys can keep pace like they do in the first half and then not come out flat-footed in the third, they could win because of where the Texans are.
As long as Cooper Rush and Ezekiel Elliott decide not to fumble it, I like our odds in the first half. I'm saying first half.
Yeah.
And then Eat Me Out had definitely screwed up here, but got to read it like it lies.
Okay, Jay Stroud ranks 7th. What?
Jay Stroud. It's CJ Stroud.
Oh, CJ.
Jay Stroud ranks 7th in the NFL.
CJ Stroud ranked 7th in the NFL in passing yards with 2,371 yards, but he hasn't put up monster numbers in year 2 after last year's Rookie of the Year campaign. Stroud has benefited from the acquisition of Joe Mixon, who has brought some balance to the offense. Mixon has 655 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Mixon, I think, is a good running back
and could eat against Cowboys. The crazy thing is, after CJ Stroud's amazing rookie season, I had mentioned Dak Prescott's rookie season, very similar to CJ Stroud's year.
Were they?
Very similar, man. And then Dak Prescott didn't have the greatest second year. He didn't. He
sophomore slump.
He had the sophomore slump. And I had mentioned I'd have to deep dive into our comment section, but I was telling people the sophomore slump's real. I don't think CJ Stroud is going to be as efficient as he was in year 1. Every team has now 17 games of film on him. Every game he plays this year is another game of film. He's going to have a tougher time than he did coming into the league. And
you were on record saying that.
I was on record.
I remember you saying this.
We've seen that. Is CJ Stroud still a really good quarterback, and is he going to be really good for the next 10 years? Probably. Is he not? Is he having a little underwhelming season compared to what people expected? Yeah. And I felt this was going to happen because he's mirroring what Dak Prescott did in year 1 to year 2.
Yeah. Well, even just Stroud himself, I think he's always someone to worry about. Like, definitely, seems to be a quarterback who can play as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And adding Mixon, I just think that's a very good addition. Would love to see him come over to Dallas, but instead of going to Houston,
Especially
he came to
before-
Texas at least.
Especially before games when we're mixing some drinks.
I mean, there's so many things we could have came up with.
Tricks and Mixon.
It's going to be it's an offense that definitely makes me want to walk back my comments from the previous storyline that he made. All right.
When he's out there, Nico Collins has arguably been one of the NFL's best receivers this year. Collins leads the league in yards per game at 113.4. Collins hasn't played since the Week 6 game on October 6th.
Wow.
In the 5 games he's played this year, Collins has 3 100-yard performances. When he returns, it'll be the first time playing since Stephon Diggs was lost for the season. The injury to Diggs prevented yet another chance to face his brother, Trayvon Diggs, on the other side, which we're all looking forward to. Last year, the Cowboys cornerback was out for the year when they played at Buffalo and against Stephon. So it's like these two are not meant to play against each other, the Diggs brothers. Which I kind of like because they never have to face each other.
Exactly.
And it's just going to always leave it out there. Just like what would have been, what could have been. And one of them will never be able to hold it over the other one.
I don't like it. I like sibling rivalry. I like to see.
You like it when we start arguing with each other?
I like when Adam start fighting.
Yeah, no.
Here's what I want to see though. Just like my UFC fights, I don't want to see or boxing because I'm not a major boxing fan, but same idea. I don't want to see the fight after one guy has come down from his peak. And luckily for us, they're going to be in their peak for,
well, we might not see them play again. Like, when's the next time the Cowboys get to play the Texans? It's not going to be for a while.
I know. Well, the only hope is that Diggs, Stephon, gets flustered with Houston and demands a trade to another team. So,
or he comes to the Cowboys, and then we just have to watch them be brothers.
Be together.
No, then we get off. Then we get
That's the superpowers.
No, every time we go to Oxnard, we get to see it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. The other thing. Oh yeah, you're right. The one-on-ones. The other thing with something like this and Nico Collins benefiting because he played. They're saying this is going to be his first game back without Stephon Diggs there. So he's had some monster games with Diggs also being in the lineup. How's a person coming off of injury going to fare when
he's the number one?
Now you're the
baby.
number one.
No, like soul, not 1A, 1B, 1.
Because his Tank
one.
Tank Dell hasn't been putting up the same.
Not
type of
compared
numbers.
to what he was like last year at the start.
Collins. I mean, look, the Houston offense does look pretty
lethargic.
Effective, I would say.
Well, but
I'm just saying, if Nico Collins is coming back this week.
Oh, yeah, they'll be better with Nico Collins.
Yeah, you're adding that. And the fact that he already played up to week 6, and he's not like coming back from an injury where he didn't play any NFL games.
And averaging 113 yards a game. That's pretty good.
Cut that by like 60, 70%, 80 yards is what I think that he'd end up with. And I mean,
still very, very nice.
It's good. Our defense is going to get it. I want our defense to go out there and get tested because I think they do. I mean, haven't really had a chance to necessarily see it this season, or I'm just saying that, but the Cowboys do play to their competition level. So
for this,
you're going?
Sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah, it was my turn.
Go for it, Big Daddy.
For the success of the Texans.
Go for it, Possum Daddy.
Hey, Possum Daddy. I just want to be the medium. It was your turn.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
For the success of the Texans are having offensively, they haven't been able to protect CJ Stroud or Jay Stroud as well as they would have hoped. Stroud has been sacked 34 times, second most in the NFL. That's a terrible stat. Second most in the NFL, and the 269 lost yards on sacks is the most by any player in the league. So Michael Parsons is back. We have solid pass rushing.
Is Bland going to be back?
I mean, plans to.
It's Wednesday, so we might not have a for sure.
It's just like one of those things. Like, is Bland going to play this year?
Bland and Diggs can't be on the same starting lineup.
It's like the Diggs brothers not being able to play against each other. Bland and Diggs aren't allowed to be on the same field as each other.
Micah Parsons having the highest pass rusher grade coming out of last weekend forms well for this.
DeMarvion Overshown looking like an absolute beast.
You see how hard he hit Kendricks on that missed hit?
Oh, he smoked him. On that missed tackle.
On that missed tackle.
He fucking cleaned him out.
So DeMarvion Overshown.
He's a missile.
went off the game, but he's kind of set to play. Obviously we haven't looked at the injury.
Yeah, he's coming. He's
list,
out.
but
He's gonna be out there.
so I want this.
Hey, Carl Lawson coming on, guys.
Carl
last
Lawson,
2 games
Demo.
had a couple sacks.
Carl
The
Lawson,
defensive
Demo.
line, the defense hasn't been the problem with the Cowboys. We've had pressure. You've had sacks in the last couple games. Again, the Micah boost, Carl Lawson playing decent, Demo flying around. Like, I imagine the defense gets 4 sacks against the Texans.
Yep.
I would say the over-under is probably 3.5. And I'm going to go over on that.
Ooh,
I'd put it at 4.5.
You say 4.5.
Yeah.
Just because
I think they will get 4.
Yeah,
so,
okay,
you
I
know,
like it. I like
you
it.
always kind of go the 0.5 above.
I like it. I just wanted to be right. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah, no.
I thought they were going to
But-
get 4 sacks,
but-
so I'd do that. It's like,
and-
if I think they were going to get 3, I would say the over-under is 2.5.
Yeah, no, but I would bet over.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I think
If it's
it's 4.5.
4.5.
I think it's 4 for
Okay,
sure.
this is another interesting thing we can monitor. Write it down and get it on your notepad. We're saying 4.5 sacks for the Cowboys. I like your bravado. We'll go 4.5 sacks
over.
over 4.5 sacks for the Dallas Cowboys. Because who do you guys think? I could see DeMarvian, Overshown, and Micah Parsons having 3 between the 2 of them.
Sure.
And now you only need
Carl Lawson.
Carl Lawson. Let's give him one.
And then I'm just saying,
Osa.
then,
Ozzie has 5 sacks.
I mean, gee, I would be singing a different tune.
Do you say Mozzie's coming to eat?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Final point for the Houston Texans. Houston's defense ranks 3rd in the NFL in yards allowed, yielding just 288 per game. The Texans are 7th in the league in sacks.
You've
with
already
29.
fucking said that.
No, that's with sacks.
Oh, with sacks. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
You,
And
and it was
you read-
34, and you read
it.
All right.
You
fuck.
read.
No, I wasn't saying you. I was saying
Oh,
the
Nick
guy.
beat me out.
Yeah, I would never say you.
Oh.
This is me
AJ
yelling
and
at
I
Nick.
both got defensive. We're like, you
Whoa.
read it.
Hey, guess what? I guess you guys have been eaten out by Nick. So what else?
Hey, jealous.
You-
That's
Nick,
just jealousy.
You're a
Did you
bunch of
just keep
Nickies.
me out?
You're a
No.
bunch of Nickies.
You know what it was? It was
Nickies.
when you said it, I was like, yeah, we did just talk about sacks. So anyways, sorry. The Texans are 7th in the league in sacks with 29, but didn't get one last week against the Lions. And Houston also has 13
Wow.
interception, tied for 2nd in the league.
That's
so
impressive.
Kalen Bullock is tied for the NFL lead with 4 picks this season. Wow.
Coop Rush.
You know, when the
better look
Cow-
out.
The under on the 42 points is looking better and better.
It is. It's going to be rough. Those 13 interceptions stand out to me because if you're already having a hard time moving the ball around and, even with Cooper Rush.
Bumblefuck between Trey Lance and Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
One of them's throwing an interception.
One of them's throwing a ball.
They're both throwing interceptions.
One of the- yeah.
If Lance is on the field for any significant amount of time, yeah, he's throwing an
and
interception.
if not, yeah, it's very plausible
The idea, ideally, we should say.
So we're -1 turnovers already.
for sure.
Yeah, it's not a bold prediction to say Cooper Rush and Trey Lance will throw an interception.
I think
this
it's
game.
bolder to say that our quarterback doesn't have a turnover. I think that's a bold prediction.
That's really bold.
It's a
that's bold
bold
as shit.
prediction.
So that's the defense is looking good. So now we're moving down to the Cowboys, and we're starting off with Dak Prescott's season is now officially over. That has been out there. He is gonna get
No,
surgery.
he can still come back.
He can come back. He can come back. Yeah, no, yeah.
Season's not over.
He can be ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, right. The Cowboys quarterback will undergo surgery Wednesday in New York to repair his partially torn hamstring.
Ugh.
Man, I feel like
I know.
when I think about it, I think about like when you're eating a chicken thigh or something.
Yeah.
Well, I did.
And it just like falls off the bone.
I did
or
a
like
le-
ribs or something.
we saw that. Then I did a leg day, and as I was doing my calves, I'm like, kind of, sometimes you're just doing your workout and whatever. But
Something
I'm
pops or
like,
something.
no, it's like you're not even really. But now I'm like thinking about what
man.
I'm like feeling where the pressure is coming from. I'm like, oh man, don't pop,
happened to him-
don't dack me right now.
It happened to him throwing the football, which
Well,
is the craziest
But
thing.
the
It's that
interesting
AT&T freaking field.
It's the sun.
the interesting thing about that is
It
it
heated up his
obviously
leg.
no, it was obviously more of a freak accident, but when you're throwing a football,
Yeah, you have to.
And
You plant.
it's like you're stretching a bunch of things to like
I think it's
a
more
pretty
so,
max
I think
level.
it's more so the irony of it. Like,
Sure.
you hurt your leg
throwing the
a
pass.
throwing a football.
I also think
throwing anything.
I would also be curious. Did he do?
Excuse me?
Did he do his?
You would what?
I'd also be curious.
Yeah, I always thought you were.
I'd also be curious to know if he did his regular warm up routine,
Oh, his
his little
thing.
hip jiving.
Well, that's yeah.
Interesting.
It wasn't a hamstring injury, and I never went to the doctors to see what it was. But I did have when I saw that happen, it PTSD'd me. I jumped on. We were at a friend's place a couple summers ago, and I was jumping on their diving board. Okay. No, diving board to jump into the water. And I was goofing off. I was going to do like a fake kind of dive, but a backyard diving board doesn't have as much spring as a diving board at a pool.
You went for it.
So I went. I went for it.
And it was like jumping on like plywood.
It was like
I could see you like you get the leg up like the diver,
and instead it just kind of it's like you hit
a little
the ground,
give
concrete.
Yeah.
No give. It was like hitting concrete, and I thought my leg blew up, and I
Did you tumble off.
I landed.
I would pay for that footage,
and I rolled over.
I would pay for that.
And then I couldn't walk for a month.
Yeah, I mean, you could have maybe not. I don't think you had bone rip off, but you probably f***ed yourself up pretty good.
And here's the thing about the Dak injury too is like, obviously, I don't know the extremity of how much, but there's a lot of times where
he has to get surgery. It's pretty serious
because he's a football player. I wonder if in our daily life, if like we would be recommended surgery, if they're like, you know what, just give it 6 months, it's going to heal on its own. I'm not saying specifically for that, but just that type of injury. Like I wonder how many times in my life I've had a tear.
But with him with surgery, the reason like he was trying to hold off to not get surgery, right?
Right. That's why he went to the other
professionals. I think when you get like his situation, the meat is off the bone.
When it
it's not even a tear. It's off.
It's been torn off
the fucking bone.
What you should be worried about more is there's your bicep muscle is attached up here, and
your bicep muscles attached.
That's all I work out is bicep.
Yeah. So that a lot of injuries from our.
Oh, I've seen.
Yeah. So that gets detached from there.
I've seen it detached from here
or there, and then you have to get them to come in and reattach it. That's very similar.
Okay, I'll finish this. I didn't even finish this. Prescott will go to season-ending IR. Prescott suffered the injury against the Falcons. His season ends with almost 2,000 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. His 86.0 quarterback rating is the lowest of his long NFL career.
I know what Dak's doing. He's going for a Comeback Player of the Year award, 2025.
Smart. He had it planned.
Hey, before I read mine, can you toss me one, son?
Hell yeah.
Toss me one, son.
Get him in the...
Behind Dak, the Cowboys are sticking with Cooper Rush as starter. Both Mike McCarthy and owner/GM, fuck you, Jerry Jones said they believe Rush can play better than the performance we saw on Sunday. Yeah, no shit.
And we do know that's true.
We absolutely know that's true.
We do know that's true.
Cooper. Oh yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. Will he have that rust shaken off?
You know, I think obviously, we don't know what type of pressure he's in, but at the end of the day, it was a dog.
He's not under pressure. They were 3-5. I would argue that he was under more pressure after the last time, and he played great.
And ideally, you have division rival. You came on your last game that you started was against the same.
His only losses as a starter
have been both to the Eagles.
Both to the shit goals.
So Rush is now 5-2 as a starter, both against the Eagles. But there is still a chance we see Trey Lance in spot duty. The Cowboys also added Will Greer to the practice squad on Tuesday.
Welcome back, Willie G.
Will fucking Greer.
Millennium.
Welcome back to the team, Millennium.
Crack, we
got him.
Micah Parsons returned after a 4-game absence and
completely sewer Mike McCarthy
and made a statement both on and off the field. I think he got it.
They had it.
He registered 2 sacks and a forced fumble against the Eagles. Awesome, showing that his high ankle sprain seems fully healed. In the post-game locker room, Parsons made some headlines with a statement regarding Mike McCarthy's future as head coach, although McCarthy and Jerry Jones said the air has been cleared between Parsons and the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of dove into this a bunch already.
Who cares? Hey,
who gives a
get the fucking sacks, Micah.
And before I read the next one, I want to ask you guys. I know we personally want to hire a draft pick, but come Monday night, well, we've had maybe 1 or 2 mixed drinks.
One or 2 mixed drinks? Come on, bro.
I'm going full. I want them to beat the Texans.
Yeah, victory every day.
I want a victory every day.
I don't want them to tank.
I wanted them to beat the Eagles because you always got to beat the Eagles. I want them to beat the Texans because the Texans.
I want them to beat the Giants.
I want them to beat every
I
team.
want them to beat the
So,
Commanders.
Sure, I would love a top 5 pick, and I know everyone online is going to be like, well, you guys want them to win? Yeah, we have to sit here and watch them for 3 hours. I do want them to win while we're watching them.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100% agree. It's, but
In that 3-hour period, we want them to
We
win.
want them to win. Do I right now want a top 5 pick?
Yeah.
And if the Cowboys finished 3-14, would I be happy and be like, okay, we got a top 5 pick? Hell, yes,
Yeah.
I would. In that game day, I want them to win, and I'm going to act like I want them to
You know
win.
what?
I'm not going to act like I want them to lose ever during a game.
No.
I'm gonna postpone my happiness till April. That's what I'm doing.
I like
And
it.
guess what?
Hey, that's good. I
you
like
know,
that.
but game to game, when you come watch CanFan on Sundays
We're all in.
or in this case Monday night,
Monday night, yeah.
we are all in. We're looking for that victory, and we're gonna be fucking gutted if the Cowboys lose.
Shit, yeah, we
I
are.
think what we should do as soon as, and I know we're going to go on to this thing here in a second, but as soon as season ends, we should make a CanFan checklist of things that we want the Cowboys to do in order to be happy. So like the type of head coach we're looking for, the type of draft picks, like immediately.
We might be able to do that on
We
our.
might be able to.
No, we're gonna make a CanFan advent calendar
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
I like that.
for around Christmas time,
Yeah, possibly. But
but then for next year.
because like as we're talking about these things, it's like like you're saying, I'll be happy with the top 5 draft pick, but then in my mind, I'm like, I also want to know who is going to be coaching this team because
Yeah.
having a top 5 pick could be irrelevant
Hey.
if we don't know.
If Tolbert shows up and Mingo cure our wide receiver issues,
And
okay.
Mingo we trust?
If
Oh,
Dowd,
yeah, Mingo.
if
Hey,
Dowd-
we get a Mingo
we
sighting.
get a Mingo setting. If Dowd,
Do we get to see Capingo?
Let's go Capingo.
It's going to be a Capingo show.
I hope so.
If Dowdle comes out and proves that, hey, he can run the football, I think for us, the draft becomes a little bit more less crucial that we look at those types of players, which right now,
are huge.
that's what we're, in my mind,
Well,
and
we're
I think
talking about
everyone-
everyone's talking about Tank for Ginty.
I don't know about tanking for Ginty. I just think in the top 3 picks, if you have a solid back to grab within the first 3 rounds, we have to take a solid
I'm not
back.
saying not do it, but I'm saying if the rest of the season plays out and we see that, okay, the Cowboys do have those pieces in place and things look good over these last 8 games, it just lowers the need to be like, then it's like, okay, if we finish 15th, which still sucks because no playoffs at that point, right? Playoffs. It numbs the pain. It's a lidocaine. It's a little bit of a lidocaine.
This
for
next
us.
one kind of segues a little bit into what we're talking about. The Cowboys just can't seem to get things going on the ground no matter who they try to hand the ball off to. Rico Dowdle has been the best running back on the team this year, especially in recent weeks. But even Sunday, when he was running the ball effectively, the Cowboys went to Ezekiel Elliott around the goal line, and Zeke lost his first red zone fumble of his career. I mean, that's pretty wild.
Fucking washed.
He's
washed.
I mean, he is washed. He is washed, but that is a wild stat. That's the first time.
Yeah.
He's had fumbling issues.
Yeah.
But for it to be his first fumble in the red zone of his career, that's pretty wild. The Cowboys remain 31st in rushing this year, averaging 83.7 yards a game. That's because they've had to go away from the rushing attack. They haven't stuck to one back system.
Yeah.
I think at the start of the year, when we were talking about the running back by committee, we thought Rico was going to get 70% of the snaps anyway.
Exactly. Yes.
And then you had a Zeke to punch it in. You had a potential Dalvin Cook, or you had a potential Deuce Vaughn to help complement the
Like we
offloading sections.
weren't that worried about our running back room. Granted, we wanted them to draft some of these dogs that have been doing pretty well from the 2024 draft class. We weren't that worried about the running game, but they've just went about their running back committee so weirdly.
Yeah, the problem with me is when they've chosen to put Zeke in, especially with Rico running the ball well. Rico did also have that red zone fumble earlier on in the season, so perhaps.
And then they had the weird sickness in San Francisco where he didn't even play. Like, it's just been the running back room's been handled weird.
I just think moving forward, it should be Dowdle's ball, and you have Elliott, you have Cook there, and they can come in when Dowdle needs a break.
when they need a break.
When they need a break, exactly.
But when they brought in Zeke, it's like Dowdle's barely around him. Why are you even switching him in? This is not much of a storyline, but it is a pretty interesting stat. For the first time since 2010, the Dallas Cowboys have lost their first 4 home games at AT&T Stadium. Dallas did manage to win the 5th game that year, something that the Cowboys are hoping to do again on Monday night. Not since 1989, when the Cowboys lost all 8 home games, have they started off this slow on their home.
Well, you said it's
turf.
not an interesting stat. It is. This hasn't happened since AT&T Stadium's been around.
Not an interesting storyline, but an interesting stat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is, guys, we're in a historically bad Cowboys year. We are. They're historically bad. They might set records for being the worst Dallas Cowboys defense that we've seen in the Super Bowl era. So it's pretty crazy that we're in it for a ride. They're not getting better. They actually just keep getting worse.
But you are nothing but garbage, yeah.
So we're in it. We're in the thick of it, man.
We're in the thick of it, and you say the defense, but I'm also wanting to call that offense.
I think the defense is bad. Like, you know how sometimes you say
offense
the offense
scored 6 points.
Well, you know how sometimes you say like the offense is I can't even know. I don't know how you word it. Your best offense
pull that
is your
cock
best
out your mouth and let's hear it.
Your best offense is a good defense, right? Like you've heard that.
Yeah.
Well, right now it's like the defense is because your offense is terrible. Like I don't know how to word it that way.
But
it's the defense looks bad.
A bad offense is a shit defense. Yeah.
Because the defense is out there all the time. Eventually, it's going to crack.
The offense is losing the football on the 15-yard line
in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, though? Like, so you always hear that saying, well, a good offense is a good defense. Well, a bad offense is your...
The reality is a bottom third offense, a high-tiered bottom third offense with a high-tier defense can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to find the opposite with a top 3 offense and a bottom third defense, like a low tier bottom third defense, winning the Super Bowl at the same rate. Because defense does all you really need the offense to do is to move the ball, score X amount of points, and it's usually anywhere between 17 and 24 points.
Yeah.
And then have a defense out there who can stop the other team from scoring. And you got yourself a victory. It's that simple.
That simple.